All right, here we go. This is my third try trying to record this for you guys. I really want to get this out to you, and I hope that it works this time. Yesterday was a big old fail. I tried to record it outside thinking, lighting, it would be nice, nature. Fail. All you could hear was birds and lawnmowers. So here we are today. For those of you who don't know me, I am Michelle Mason. I am a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. I want to do a series of videos where I break down some of the most commonly received questions I get when it comes to nutrition to help you along your journey if paying attention to tracking foods and your overall nutrition is something that you are interested in. Now, everything that I'm going to be sharing, I don't think I'm going to be sharing anything necessarily groundbreaking with you. Most of us, in fact, know inherently what we should and should not be doing when it comes to our nutrition. But I think that sometimes, it takes hearing things in a certain way for it to really resonate with you and to give you that aha moment. And also, I think timing can be really important. So if it sounds repetitive to some of you based on conversations that you and I have had or previous videos, great. But hopefully, again, there's something in here that you can glean that's a little tip, a little trick to make things a little bit easier for you. So today I want to talk about macronutrients. Now, all of our food is comprised of macronutrients. We've got protein, we've got carbohydrates, and we've got fats. We also consider alcohol to technically be the fourth macronutrient, so I will touch on that just a little bit as well. But the three primary macronutrients are protein, carbs, and fats. Now, I don't remember who told me this or where I learned this from, but when it comes to nutrition, it can be really easy if you think about three different circles, okay? In one circle, you've got people who are focused on eating for performance. These are athletes, people who train for Ironmans, marathons, powerlifting, weightlifting, sports, things like that, okay? Wanting to get better at exercise for it to serve a purpose in their life. On another circle, you've got people who are training for body composition or aesthetics, the way that you look. This is most general population people who are focusing on weight loss, fat loss, and wanting to look better in their clothes. In the third circle, you've got people who are using nutrition to focus on their health. This is somebody, for example, a diabetic who is changing their diet or something like that. Now, obviously there's overlap between all three of those circles, right? So they kind of meet in this area in the middle where we all know that we need certain things. Everybody obviously should be focusing on food quality, getting enough water, getting enough sleep and things like that. But outside of that area where they all converge, there are some differences in what everybody needs. So I want to try to really quickly zero in on some of that and try to make it a little bit easier to understand so that you know how to match your nutrition to your goals. That is the biggest thing. Okay, so I'm going to try to really keep this simple and straightforward. All right, let's talk about protein first. Protein is the one that everybody's got in common. Everyone, in my opinion, needs to focus on their protein. That is the most common thing that I see with nutrition clients when they start tracking their food in an app for me like MyFitnessPal, is I notice that protein is rarely where it needs to be. And that's the single-handed biggest thing that is going to make people feel better. If you can kind of shift your diet to include more protein at every meal. Now, obviously requirements are going to differ per person and depending on what your goals are, depending on which of these kind of areas you fall into with your nutritional focus. But in general, I can say that most people are good somewhere in the 0.8 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So grab your calculator, figure out where you kind of fall in there and set a goal for yourself, okay? And when it comes to protein, the biggest things to consider are the sources. As I mentioned, whenever possible, grabbing grass-fed, organic, free-range eggs, things like that are going to be great. Around training, you do want to try to focus on lean protein over something fattier like a steak. That is fine to include in an overall diet, but I would put it away from training. The reason being there's a lot of fat in something like steak, whereas if you go with a leaner protein source like turkey, chicken, egg, whites, Greek yogurt, things like that around protein, it's a little bit easier to digest for your body. Whey protein powder is another one. And it's more advantageous to put those sources around your training time, okay? So before or after your workouts, and then save the fattier sources of protein for farther away from workouts like salmon, eggs, and steak, okay? Let's move on to fats. Now, fats are hotly debated because, everybody talks about what's a healthy fat, what's a not healthy fat. We can all kind of agree that things like walnuts and most nuts and olive oil and avocados are all really good fat sources, and you do want to focus the primary majority of your fat sources on things like that. Eggs are also another great one. As it refers to fats, fats can be really helpful when it comes to hormonal health, and it can also be really helpful. And let's say somebody who's focusing on their health, they might want to focus more on healthy fats and protein and lower carbohydrates versus someone who is focusing on performance, who might want to put most of that focus on their carbohydrates and less so on fat. Key distinction here with fats also comes down to nutrient timing. Okay, so when you eat your fat. Around training, it is going to make your food harder to digest. And that is not a time when you want to slow down any digestion, right? Especially during a workout, you're going to get a stomach ache. After your workout, you're not going to facilitate that recovery process quite as quickly. So keep, again, those fattier sources to outside of your training window. Finally, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are also wildly misunderstood. They are wonderful for a lot of reasons. Again, there's a hormonal component there. Your, happy carbs. People think that their mood gets elevated, which is, certainly proven to be true in some studies. It also really helps with feeling better in your workouts and fueling your energy through the day. So I would say with carbohydrates, it really depends on your goals. Obviously, if you're focused more on eating for health, it's not quite as important. If you're not as active, they're not as important. If you are very active or you are training for performance and aesthetics, it becomes more so important. But timing becomes key here, and the source. So things like white rice and potatoes, things that are really easy to digest, are going to be best suited before and after your workouts. Carbohydrates that are complex in nature, think beans, more of the starchier vegetables and things like that, things like broccoli, bananas, are better suited for away from your workout. Again, just to help aid with digestion and absorption, recovery, all this fun, fancy stuff that we don't need to get in today because we are already nearing the 8-minute mark. So that is just a very simplified breakdown of the macronutrients. Oh, before I forget, alcohol is considered the 4th macronutrient because it is digested differently and metabolized differently by the body. So to account for it when logging, we need to address it differently. We can't just log 5 ounces of wine. I'll get into that next time when I give you a MyFitnessPal and food logging breakdown. Take care, everybody.